Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. I hope everybody's enjoyed their Juneteenth. I know Skaggs and I have enjoyed this federal holiday. And this is another episode of the Two Doom Men. As always, you are listening to Skaggs and yours truly, the Captain. What's up, buddy? What do we got on today's Juneteenth docket?
I'm all for every day possible that the federal government could be closed.
Yep.
Every day should be a holiday for the federal government. Although I didn't get a holiday today, not in real normal work nor on podcast work. So here we are. We're back on a Wednesday, and we are going to talk about two main topics tonight. One of which is going to be a new bill being proposed that will change the way the Selective Service registration works. If you're not familiar with the Selective Service, it is in effect the draft into the military. You might remember, I don't know if you remember, Captain, but you might remember way back in the day in high school, probably around like senior year or maybe junior year of high school. I'm sure your school brought up to you the Selective Service, concept and probably brought the papers in for you to sign up. Like they probably encouraged you to do it along with registering to vote and stuff like that.
We didn't have so much as like the paperwork given to us. We had soldiers come in and harass us at lunch and be like, sign up for the army. Yeah, they had tables set up in like the cafeteria and like the gym and in different parts of the school, and like one day it would be the Navy and they would try and convince you to sign up for the Navy, and recruiters would come to school and set up and they'd show you this video of SEAL Team 6 rising out of a swamp and taking and you're like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, cool, you could be the cook. So.
You went to Stepanak, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so I went to Iona Prep. I don't remember them bringing any military recruiters in, but I do remember them handing out the Selective Service thing with registration to vote. Actually, we did have the Secret Service came and gave a presentation at Iona Prep when I was a senior. I think like someone in the Secret Service was a graduate of Iona Prep, and he would pull the strings to get the Secret Service to come back to school and do like a presentation just because it was like cool. They were actually pretty cool. They even kind of made fun of Hillary Clinton. I remember at the time that they wouldn't protect her because she wasn't president or something like that. This was way back in probably 2007.
Bush was probably
he was still president. I don't think Obama was even president yet. I think Bush was president. Yeah, I remember them showing us a picture of President Bush training with them. And he had like an AR-15 style rifle.
Fucking terrorist.
He was training.
Goddamn terrorist.
So that'll be our first topic tonight. It is interesting, given the state of affairs around the world, that they are tinkering with draft, things. I don't know. I don't even know how to call it, the registration. Second thing is going to be the concept of cheap fakes with President
Deep fakes,
Biden. Yeah, cheap fakes, as the clown press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre would call it. We'll play those videos later. We'll laugh. We'll cry. And we'll get into
and I will rant.
Yeah, the Orwellian nightmare that is 2024. All right, so let's get right into the Selective Service thing. I got a couple articles, and then I have the actual literature from the Senate that's trying to pass the bill. So I got first an article from USA Today, and it's this is the way I'm designed to go about it. Let's go first with the fact-checking article. No, the Selective Service Registration Bill doesn't reinstitute the draft. Fact check by Hannah Hundal. And a June 16 Facebook video shows a man claiming America has reinstituted a draft. The U.S. forcing military men to go men to the military, reads the on-screen text. Men ages 18 to 16 got to go to postcard, more than 4,000 likes, blah, blah, blah. It's always interesting to see how they frame these things. Like, they're so concerned with people covering things on their own. And, oh, no, someone said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
We need to now write an entire article about it and shame them and point out how how stupid you normal rubes are. R rating false. This is a misrepresentation of a bill passed by the House of Representatives that would automatically register men between the ages of 18 and 25 for the Selective Service. The bill does not draft or automatically enlist anyone. It simply makes registration automatic instead of requiring each person to do it individually. That is true. This isn't the actual draft being enacted or anything like that. It's the paperwork for being in the draft. I'll go on. House bill would amend pre-existing registration law. The House of Representatives passed H.R. 870, also known as the Service Member Quality of Life Improvement and National Defense Authorization Act. On June 14th, the bill, which has not yet been signed into law, would automatically register all male U.S. citizens and men residing in the U.S. who are at least 18 and not yet 26 in the Selective Service. The automatic registration wouldn't apply to lawful non-immigrants described in the Immigration and Nationality Act, such as foreign ambassadors and aliens visiting the country temporarily for business, according to the bill. The registration isn't a new requirement, however. The bill's text says it aims to amend the Military Selective Service Act, which already requires men in this age group to register for the Selective Service. Justine Tripathi, a spokesperson for the House Armed Services Committee, which is chaired by the bill's sponsor, Rep. Mike Rogers, told USA Today the Facebook post misrepresents the contents of the bill. Under current law, men who are U.S. citizens between the ages of 18 and 25 are required to register for the Selective Service, she said in an email. A provision in the House-passed NDAA would automatically register all men who are U.S. citizens or are residing in the U.S. and between the ages of 18 and 25 for the Selective Service. Failure to register for the Selective Service can impact employment and the ability to receive government assistance. But sometimes young men are unaware that they need to register for the Selective Service until it's too late. The provision would eliminate those future headaches. It is currently a federal felony to not register for the Selective Service if you're part of the aforementioned group of men. The crime is punishable by fines or a prison sentence and may affect eligibility for federal jobs, citizenship, or state-funded student financial act.
That the last part's pretty bullshit. No, my father was drafted to Vietnam. He didn't run to Canada like a lot of cowards at that time did. He took his licks and he went to war and he fought, a war that he shouldn't have been a part of, that America shouldn't have been a part of. And, they welcomed back all the draft dodgers with open arms. And all those people were probably able to get federal assistance and employment and stuff. So that last part is real bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, the Vietnam draft. Like, a lot of the stigma around the draft comes from that war and that time. I think rightfully so, too. I think everybody who tried to dodge that draft probably did the right thing. I'm not trying to say that, like, your dad or people who went and served didn't do the right thing either. I think people did the right thing for different reasons, perhaps, at that time. But I don't want to compare this to that because it's been so many years. since that. I just find it ironic how they're framing it. The people who are like writing this bill and trying to pass it, they're framing it as they're doing you a favor, so you don't have to fill out more paperwork. Because if you don't fill out the paperwork, you'll end up in prison. Of which they wrote the rules that throw you in prison if you don't fill out the paperwork to begin with. So, like, don't worry, we're doing you a favor and we're not throwing you in, this headache that you have to go through. By the way, we're the ones who cause the headache if you don't do it. We're the ones who will literally throw you in a cage if you decide not to become a slave to the government and give up your freedom to go fight in a war perhaps you don't want. I disagree with the concept of the draft, especially in a professed free society like America is supposed to be here, right? And especially at the time we're supposed to be, protecting democracy. The concept that we are going to force people against their will into military service instead of just letting people volunteer and choose. I, of course, disagree with it. We talked about it in the past, too, with the many, many episodes ago when we had Ladies' Night, and they were floating out the idea of including women in the draft, which they are now. I believe they are.
That's your equity, everybody.
Yeah.
Second part of this,
Yep. Yeah, right. Aren't you glad you got it? Second part of this is that article was not 100% correct either. There is more to this, and you can go to armedservices.senate.gov to find out. They have like the entire presentation here on exactly what it is. And if you go to page number 4, I believe it's page number 4, where it says point number 3, and then there's some bullet points, and it says that this amends the Military Selective Service Act to require the registration of women for selective service. So not only does this require, in a sense, everyone by default to just be registered for the system that puts you in the draft, but not just men, as they keep referencing in all the articles that are fact-checking this, but women as well. So everyone now, in a sense, you don't have to fill out the paperwork. You're just in the system to be drafted if they...
It's called get fucked.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, with all that being said, why are they doing this?
Well,
I'll let you rant. Go ahead before I give a couple of my thoughts on this, because I've been talking for a minute here.
So now, obviously, I don't support war in Israel. I don't support the war in Ukraine. I don't support the million other wars that you are about to ramble off about. But I also get to say this with immunity, and I have no children. This doesn't upset me. I understand your viewpoint. We are a free society, and the government creates this headache. And we, and now the government is, quote unquote, going to magically save us from this headache that they created.
That old thing, that old song and dance.
Yes. Yeah. But this is the result of the fourth turning. Good times create weak men create hard times. And we are in the hard times, and good men need to be birthed from these hard times. And if you take a look at some of the younger generations, there's plenty of based younger generations. Don't get me wrong. But there's also a lot of people who are fucked that should not be running this country when they get the opportunity to run this country. I ain't saying boomers are the best. I ain't saying Gen X is going to get it right. I ain't even saying us millennials are going to get it right. But there is a younger generation that has been truly entrenched in this DEI woke culture that we have no idea what their future is going to be like. So it is, this is a direct result of piss poor policies. Excuse me. The left has created such a terrible state of affairs that Russian warships are 90 miles off of the coast of Florida. There's no surprise that being on the brink of World War III during an election, Congress and the House of Representatives are coming up with a way to get more people to be drafted into the military. The military is, at this point in time, I think the lowest. We have like the lowest member of armed
numbers.
The lowest numbers of recruitment in like the history of the country. And that is just another direct result of piss poor policies that the establishment and the deep state has backed this country into a corner. That, you know, nobody wants to join the military. Nobody wants to fight for this country. You made being a patriot and being, you know, a fan of the military, or even going a step further and joining the military, kind of goes hand in hand. But now you openly chastise and oppress anyone who wants to be patriotic. So why would they go join the military? The whole vaccine mandate completely fucked over the recruitment rate for the military. So weak men have led this country into this exact position. And once again, I get to say this with immunity because I'm too old. I'm not going to get drafted, and I don't have kids that are going to be old enough to get drafted. You know, and even your kids aren't. I mean, unless this war goes on for, you know, 25 years or whatever.
That's not impossible. Afghanistan went on for 20 years. You're right.
You know, so I'm not surprised that these piss poor policies have gotten us there, and this is what they're trying to do. You know, they created the problem, and here they are to fix it, to save you with the headache. I don't agree with the draft, you know, but my father served his time in the military. He came out a stronger man. You know what I mean? He created good times for me and my mother. Am I a weak man? Maybe. I don't know. But, you know, at 18 to 26, at 26, I was pretty strong. I would have been ripping, you know, fucking Russian soldiers in half back then, getting real medieval on them. But I think now, you know, it is up to the future, younger generations, us included, of course, us included, to fix these piss poor problems. And we need strong men to come out on the other side.
Yeah, I hear your perspective.
Now, I'm not trying to be no war hawk or nothing. You know, I'd rather we back out of all these wars right now. But
your perspective is that military service can be good for a person, right? And kind of like teach them some discipline, you know, like make your bed and etc. And know how to, you know, be in good shape. And
you're not a woman. Stop dyeing your hair blue.
The problem with that, given the current state of the world, is I could see how that could even be easily co-opted, where they could spin on the turn of a dime and be like, all these. You know, these loser woke kids nowadays, we got to like get them in there and get them right. And the military is the way to do it. I could see how that could be kind of co-opted. I agree with you, like that there are positives to that sort of military service. I just disagree in principle with the fact that, am I a free man? Then you can't force me to, you know, literally serve in the military or in a war against my will. I think another part of this is that if a war is unpopular, they are not going to get enough people to volunteer to fight the war. And there's probably a reason why the war is unpopular, right? Yeah. You know, they want to dismiss every criticism we have of everything, but people are actually pretty smart sometimes, you know, especially in Vietnam. A lot of people didn't agree with the war. It was a bullshit war. Even your father said it was a police action, right? I've heard him say that a couple times. So I think given the state of the world right now, it's not a coincidence that this is being floated out and trying to be passed. I think they're trying to shore up every angle that they possibly can ahead of what could be World War III or a major war that we are involved in. Granted, all the circumstances you cited before, low recruitment, we don't have the people to fight World War III at the moment. We might have the stuff, but we don't have the people. Off the top of my head, and again, for context, for people who maybe aren't aware, this list I came straight off the top of my head. I didn't look anything up. I didn't
of just wars that you know are going on.
Took notes while I was thinking about what we're going to talk about tonight. At the moment, obviously everyone knows the war in Ukraine is happening, and it involves the United States, NATO, Russia, Ukraine. So essentially all of Europe is in a state of war already at the moment. There is the war, of course, we've talked about many times, between Israel and Gaza, right? We are funding that one. That is a sense of proxy war of the United States as well. Israel and Lebanon are also having some conflict going on in the north of Israel. Right? Remember, you saw the video of them using the trebuchet, Israel.
Yes.
Throwing things over the wall into Lebanon. That's been popping off between, you know, what is it there in Lebanon? The why am I blanking on Hezbollah? Right. So that's another war that could be, you know, like in the region. Obviously, Israel and Iran. Iran launched that attack against them a month or so ago. The Houthis in Yemen. We've been involved in that one, trying to
since Obama was in office.
Right. And now, but again, it's sparked up again. We're patrolling the Gulf of Aden there with our ships, and we've been bombing Yemen every so often. China and Taiwan, right? China is constantly antagonizing Taiwan. We're antagonizing China. We're, instead of the strategic ambiguity, that's gone away now. That's just provocation. Every day, China's surrounding Taiwan with ships and flying planes in the zone. North and South Korea, obviously, we just talked about how they're floating balloons full of poo over the DMZ and taunting each other, right? Vladimir Putin actually yesterday went and visited North Korea.
Yes, he did.
Spur of the moment. What was that about? There's an alliance there to some extent. How about Armenia and Azerbaijan? No one ever talks about this one. That's a proxy fight between the United States and Russia on both sides as well. They're smaller countries. It's not as hot as Ukraine is, but it's another proxy going on somewhere in the world between the United States and the other side, Russia. Venezuela and Guyana, right? Venezuela, I think, basically annexed a gigantic portion of Guyana, like it's wilderness, and it's basically, this is ours now because there's oil up here, and we're taking it. Our government hates Venezuela, right? So Guyana, that's going to be another proxy, or there's been some antagonistic behavior between us and Venezuela, with Guyana being the proxy. That could pop off there. And then how about something we talked about as well, the Northern Africa situation with the guy who looked like he was in the Expendables, right? All the Northern African, the ECOWAS, the tensions there in Northern Africa. So there is war with the United States. On every continent around the world, and the United States fingerprints are all over it. Not to mention like the cartels in Mexico, and how like some of the good America First Republicans want to go to war with them as well, even if we get out of the shitty administration.
It's okay to fight pirates in Somalia.
Yeah, right. That too. I mean, we pretty much beat them. But yeah, and then you mentioned before, the Russian warships were literally visible off the coast of Miami yesterday. That's Putin sending a message to us like, hey, don't forget, like, I have range. I can strike you if you're gonna green light Ukraine striking
his poor policies,
Russia with American weapons. And that's a major provocation. That's the reason why these Russian Navy ships are here.
I mean, just for reference, Biden the other day told Zelensky that he will back them for the next decade.
Yeah, they had a peace summit, right? A EU peace summit where they guaranteed funding of 10 more years of war. Russia wasn't invited to the peace summit, or wasn't there. So it's ironic. It's like a microcosm of everything else that's being done lately. Whatever they call the thing is the opposite of what it is. It was a war summit, right? And an offensive summit where they guaranteed more weapons and whatnot.
For 10 years.
In terms of tensions, one other point, like the green lighting Ukraine to use American weapons to strike within Russia's borders. I know the defense right now is going to be like, well, no, it's just to defend Ukraine right over the border region of Russia, like where there's equipment and staging areas and whatnot. Yeah, just like we weren't going to give them F-16s, just like we weren't going to give them M1 Abrams tanks, right? Like that's the way this war has gone. It's a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more on both sides until until we actually have to kick in the draft and get involved when nukes are flying.
I always love, to bring up Russia invaded this little country in the Middle East called, Afghanistan. And then America said, no, you can't do that. We're going to go over there and we're going to arm the people of Afghanistan, and we're going to train them how to fight, and we're going to train them how to be a military. And then they became Al-Qaeda.
Yeah. You ever seen that Rambo movie? They literally they literally say, like, to the brave freedom fighters of the Mujahideen or whatever. That literally are Al-Qaeda, years later. And
if you believe everything the government says and all these commissions and this and that, and the government bats 1,000 and never lies, okay, well, we created Al-Qaeda, and then Al-Qaeda did 9/11. Yeah. So
simple strategy. We don't have to do any of this.
Yeah.
We could go around the world. We have the leverage. We still have the power. We could go around the world and look to make peace and make deals and work things out instead of being so goddamn antagonistic around the world with all these countries. It was one of our topics last week that we didn't get to, but how about Saudi Arabia dropping the petrodollar, right?
Yes.
Like the kind of foundation of, what makes the American dollar so valuable is that other countries have agreed, especially Saudi Arabia, which is like a major producer of oil, to buy oil in American dollars. That's been around for a long time. I think since like the 70s.
50, 60 years.
50, 60, yeah. Right. Now that's going away. You know,
Yeah.
like the empire is like, in the
Because
late stages here, and things are slipping away, and they can't stop making it worse and
the
antagonizing.
direct result of piss poor policies. We are at the this is, the weak men create hard times. We are reaching the precipice of hard times.
Yeah,
That's why, and I get it, the government makes this mess, but that's why, a draft into World War III might make some, strong men.
Yeah, but we'll be in World War III. I'd be honest with you, I'd be sooner to fight them before I signed up. And I know you're saying you're like outside the range. Yeah, at the onset. Right?
Yeah, so, I guess so.
And that was how Ukraine started as well, too.
Yeah.
Right? Like it started with like the volunteer force, and then they started a draft, and it was just the young guys, and now they're like signing up old dudes in wheelchairs and like
anybody under the age of 50. Yeah,
it doesn't last that way, especially if we're talking about World War III. It somehow avoids going nuclear, and it's like conventional soldiers on the battlefield. Dude, you're talking millions of there's more people now in the world than there were during World War II, right? And how bloody of a war that was, the worst thing that ever happened to humanity.
Yeah,
you're talking million, could be hundreds of millions of people dead if it just stays even conventional. And for what, really? I don't know. Like
the military-industrial complex.
Profits, ideological
war, profiteering, and just to go on live TV and say we were right because
we'll be dead, buddy. We ain't gonna be able to. It's gonna be too late.
Well, for them, I'm saying, but
from their bunkers where they're completely.
We were right. We were right. See, we were right about everything because we've learned over the past few weeks. Whatever they say is truth. They're not going back, even when presented with factual evidence of them saying the opposite. They will still double down, and there's no acceptance of error.
No. So I mean, I'm not confident that actually will happen. Like the World War III scenario will play out. I'd say I'm like 70-30 that it won't happen, but 30% is a large percent. And I do think that probably the reason why they're doing this is they're just trying to shore up any vulnerabilities in their ability to force people to serve in the event that this could happen. And I think they're taking it seriously. Now, maybe this doesn't even pass, right?
Yeah.
But it almost does become a moot point because they could still force you to serve anyway.
Right.
It's just they're trying to eliminate some bureaucracy paperwork that kind of gets in the way of being able to rapidly draft and deploy new soldiers.
Yeah, there's 2 points here. I don't disagree with your 70-30. And I don't think Putin is necessarily, and you can call me a Putin sympathizer, I don't give a shit. I don't think he's necessarily here to start war. I really think, and I think Putin would probably agree, it's in his best interest to wait for the election, because if Trump does win, I'm not saying he's good, I'm just saying if he does win, there will be a conversation immediately had with the UN and Russia and like if Putin isn't trying to go nuclear, because I mean he is Russian and it is in his blood to just fight until the last man standing, and I get that, but it does behoove him to wait. Why would he put ships that far out from Florida? Because like the rest of us are saying, this administration, this deep state, this whatever you want to call it, they might do something crazy before the election to halt the election. And World War III definitely would be a great way to halt the election. And this would maybe be a good way to, just protect themselves from complete annihilation before, from a Russian standpoint, yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they've said that there's no nukes on board and whatnot, but right. But at that, I was telling you yesterday in text, I'm like, man, at that range, it's like 30 seconds. You could get to Miami and it's over. Like you can't anti-ship missile, counter a.
They would take out their own ships in that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they would, right? Or it would probably be the subs that would do that.
I don't believe anything. They literally, Russia could be like, no, there's nukes on those subs, and American media would be like, no, there's none. That's fake news. It's fake. That I'm okay with because it would probably create widespread panic, but it would also light a fire under Americans' asses to see how bad this administration is. But my second thing you brought up, it might not even get passed in the Senate and all this stuff. Did you hear about how Chuck Schumer is just appalled that not only are we going to draft people and take away their freedom of choice in a free society, he's upset that there's not enough LGBTQ, ABCD, whatever amendments to this document.
Oh, well, he's got his priorities, right?
Yep.
Did you see that he also doesn't know how to grill hamburgers?
Well, are you surprised at that one? I'm pretty sure I seen the picture.
Hold on. Let's bring it up here. I wasn't prepared for this one, but let's bring it up. So he tweeted this the other day, I guess on Sunday for Father's Day.
What a psychopath!
Yeah, and here he is grilling.
Can you zoom in on that?
Hello, fellow humans. Look at me. I'm just like you. I grill my hamburgers. Let's see. Let's grill. Let's zoom in. I love Twitter. Look at this. I'm zooming in, and it doesn't actually zoom in on the photo.
Yeah.
No, I can't. But if you look closely,
they're gray burgers.
If you look,
and he's wearing a sweater in the middle of June. So
if you look closely at this, he put a piece of cheese on a raw hamburger on the grill. Like it's the most obviously staged photo to try and make him look, like relatable, humanized, right? To normal people. My God, lizard people, man. I mean, this sort of thing makes me wonder, man. Maybe James is right from about all that stuff.
But I think he's right way more than you think he is.
Yeah. So. Yeah, man, that's a story. You made an interesting point about Vladimir Putin. I do think what he's doing at the moment with the ships is probably an insurance policy / reminder / deterrent for using weapons on them. Hey, remember, we could use weapons on you. I do think that Vladimir Putin probably it is in his best short-term interest for the election to happen and to make peace and put this thing away. I also think Vladimir Putin would be completely fine with the United States collapsing, the Western Empire falling away, and then he gets to do whatever he wants. He gets
100%.
He then gets to become the empire, right? Yeah. And then he gets to play games on our border and things like that. We could avoid, I don't think America should be, because I don't like the empire, I don't think America should be like a weak place. I think we should be like the fortress of freedom. You ain't coming over here, Vladimir Putin, and fucking with us because we're the fortress of freedom. But at the same time, we're not going to go over there and give you a reason to want to come over here and mess with us, right? That would be the way to go. Instead, we're doing the complete opposite, and we're pushing, we're provoking him, as Scott Horton would say. I can't wait for that book to come out into World War III. So that's my final thought on that issue. Anything else before going to the next thing?
We can move on.
All right.
So we're going to talk about, what's her name? Jean Pierre?
Yes.
This angered me, people. This angered me. This woman, I have said she should be fired and removed and stepped down millions of times. I think she should lose her First Amendment fucking rights at this point. This really infuriated me. And, let me just be clear on something. If you listen to this show, clearly you're not a dummy. We're the only two dummies here. If, I knew eventually we were going to go down this path of deep fakes. And for anybody who doesn't know what a deep fake is, I think Dua Lipa, the musician, the music artist, was just in something where as long as there's a selfie of you on the internet, these people could take that selfie and use AI and put your face and generate a situation. And I think like an adult X-rated sex tape came out with Dua Lipa, but it actually was a deep fake, but it looked real and it looked like she was really doing it.
Almost indistinguishable from what would be a real one.
So now this really this truthfully is a part of AI that I am not in favor of. This truly poses a huge, huge problem because now like what you actually see can be a lie. But this administration, the garbage deep state that we have running the show, I've said this in the past. I've said this to other people. I don't know if I've ever said it on air. It's going to be quite simple. Let me break it down for you all. Anything negative you see of Joe Biden from here on out will be considered a deep fake. And anything and everything you see of negative of Donald Trump will be 100% factually true. The guy could have 10 fingers on one hand, and you could clearly see that it's a deep fake or some form of AI, but the media will spin it to make it seem that this is the truth. That's how this is going to go. And not only is it scary, but now, with Trump being under investigation, being convicted, a felon, and yeah, I am champion my candidate here and being biased, but this could happen to any candidate. This could happen to any celebrity, anybody you follow or like. There's nothing to stop the CIA or the FBI to do a deep fake on, remember the piss tapes that they had on Trump or whatever, that never it's free range now. You can make up any tape and the media is going to run with it. And the simpleton Americans that still tune in to MSNBC and watch The View are going to believe it 100%. And
yeah, I agree. I feel like this is a watershed moment. The toothpaste has been taken out of the tube and it can't be put back. I think this is it. I think this is it, right? The administration is kind of at this point. I think there's been so many bad videos of Biden looking old and lost. I think they were probably even reluctant to take the cat out of the bag or whatever. I can use a million references here, right? But I think that's it. They had to go for it now at this point. They got too much to lose, so they just were like, fuck it. Let's just come up with a term that's marketable, even kind of plays on Trump's fake news thing in some similar way. Cheap fakes kind of like rhymes. It sounds good. I don't know, like it's a catchphrase, it's a buzzword. What sparked it is not just the 100 million videos, some of which I've posted of Biden looking clueless and lost, but two specific ones most recently. One is of Biden in Italy at the G7 summit, and there's like these Italian army parachuters landing around them, and he just kind of like wanders off and looks lost. The Italian prime minister grabs him and tries to get his attention again. The second one is at a fundraiser over the weekend, some big celebrity fundraiser for Biden, with like Jack Black, who ironically looked like Karl Marx in it, which is hysterical. And President Obama was there, and Biden again looks lost on stage, and President Obama guides him off. We're going to play all this for you, folks.
Side note, Doom Nation, Donald Trump was a convicted felon and in a weekend raised $200 million in support for his campaign. Joe Biden and this big celebrity cast at the fundraiser that he had, there was pictures of him with who played Pretty Woman? God, Julia Roberts. They,
George Clooney,
George Clooney. Yeah, they had all these celebrities there. Obama, the king, the goat was there. Okay, Mr. Perfect was there. They raised something like $30 million.
Really? I was wondering. I was like, I want to see if Captain knows what was the difference between fundraising.
Huge. Yeah. It was huge difference.
$170 million difference. You're telling me? Wow.
Trump's almost at like 400 million
I'm sure,
since he's been convicted.
Yeah.
You got every celebrity you could get your hands on, and the GOAT, Mr. Obama, Mr. President Obama, who's still running the fucking show, and they didn't even break 100 million.
That's interesting in of itself. All right, so I got a couple videos for you. What I want to do is play Karine Jean-Pierre, her cheap fake thing. It's going to be side by side with the videos that she's referencing. I then have one video of the Obama-Biden thing afterwards to show, and then I have how it's being spun by propagandists and the videos that they're sharing. This is kind of low-hanging fruit, Cap. It's like dumb shit, but this means something. It really does.
Yes, I agree. It's low-hanging fruit, but like you said, the cat's out of the bag. We cannot go back now.
Yep,
we can't, because everything moving forward that is negative of Biden will be a deep fake.
This is the sort of thing that people talk about and matters too. I got to be honest with you. We could sit here and talk about Ukraine, the history, the NATO and Putin, the Soviet Union. I love all that shit, but you lose people. This is the things that probably actually move the needle somewhat. All right, so let's listen to KJP here and see what she had to say.
There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a a pattern that we're seeing more of?
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post.
Hold on. Did you see? I know people took photos of this, but did you see Javier Milei's face in this one when this is happening? Look in the background. That's Javier Milei from Argentina. Look at his face as this occurs here while President Biden's getting real weird and close to the Pope.
Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York.
Took a step back.
Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. For thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. And instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country.
Oh, God.
Fakes.
Why do I hate this woman?
Videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
I don't think anybody ever likes the press secretary because their job is literally just to be the official liar of the regime. So hang on real quick before I lose my train of thought here on this one. The first video, the one of him in Italy, I will say that on that one, it does look like he might be looking at a paratrooper who lands kind of behind them.
Yes, I agree with that.
On that one. The second one's inexcusable, which I'll play here in a second. But I don't think in that first one of him in Italy, the story is that he was even lost. You'll notice a common theme in a lot of these videos, especially the ones where he's with other world leaders. They are behaving and anticipating things like this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The Italian PM, Giorgia Meloni, seemed like, oh man, I better go and cover for him and grab him real quick and bring him back, even if he wasn't actually doing anything like that in the moment. And the next one we'll show a little bit closer up. President Obama seems to also have the same instinct. I don't know if they've been coached or if even in their own minds now, they're just aware of this and they're like, look, I'm on Joe's side. I better help out my boy here and make sure all is good.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Even at D-Day, Normandy, she had mentioned that, where they're trying to cover for the fact that Joe shit his pants on stage and his wife had to usher him off. But French President Macaroni and Cheese, Macaroon, whatever the hell his name is, he had to go out there by himself and thank fucking American soldiers without the president, the U.S. president. Fucking disgusting to see. And the fact for her to sit there and go, oh, these are continuous 24-hour attacks on the president. What did you do to Donald Trump? To sit there and go, Republicans are only interested in sharing misleading and misleading information and disinformation. I'm pretty sure we could fact check you on that one. And they go, they don't want to represent, they don't want to speak upon all of his wins with legislature. What wins? What wins? Who's better off?
Yeah, that one is not even...
if you look at Rachel Maddow having her meltdowns, and you look at The View having their meltdowns, and you listen to anything Biden or the camp has to say, Trump's a felony, Trump's a bad guy, we're going to be thrown into re-education camps. All they can campaign on is Trump's a bad man. There's no campaigning on Biden's wins with legislation.
Yeah, especially what she's criticizing here. She's criticizing right-wing media, but at the same token, left-wing media, is doing the same thing. They're not ever highlighting wins of Biden. They're just talking about negatives of Trump.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point in of itself.
If Biden
unwind
is
the
doing
lies
if Biden is doing so good in office, and you guys are telling us the truth,
yeah.
what do you have to worry about?
I will say too, to come to Donald Trump's defense on that one, and when I watch a lot of his speeches, he does talk about a lot of policy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of funny shit and like low-hanging fruit things he makes
Yeah.
fun of and makes jokes, and that's great and all, but there's a lot of times where Donald Trump talks about like the economy and like actual policies and things like that. And now I might disagree with him on several of them or whatever, but you can't
at least he's talking
but at
about
least
it.
he does talk about those
Yeah.
things, right? For you to be like,
You
no,
have to.
no, they don't. And yes, he talks about how Biden's dead, he's not there, or whatever. That's part of it. But he does talk about those things. I can't take that away from him, whatsoever. All right, so let's show the Obama video here, just because I want to showcase how the corporate press and the regime lie and how they manipulate things on top of lying.
And
it's not just lying.
Let's just to give a little background. You understand what's happening in here. Doom Nation Skaggs does a lot of work for these shows. You edit and cut a lot of our shows, right? All of our shows, obviously.
Into the clips afterwards, yeah.
Right. So you understand what is taking place here, correct?
Well, this one isn't the edited one. First, I'm going to show you what actually happened here for those that are watching. So here is an unedited, straight video of a different camera angle than the one you might have seen before while KJP was talking. Let's watch it. It's about 40 seconds.
And powering down. You know the little loading circle on Xbox? That's basically And there's Biden. Biden. Obama ushering Biden off the stage.
Let's go back real quick in case anybody misses it. Look, Obama grabs him by the arm, kind of gives him a yank in his direction, a pat on the back. Let's go, buddy. Let's get out of here.
Yep. Before you fuck this up even further.
Notices his boy froze up again, right? Something's going wrong. So that's what happened. Now, let's compare that to the way that it's being portrayed by official propagandists of the regime, like Harry J. Sisson. I don't know if you guys know this guy. He's like one of those young kids that screams about everything and is super enthusiastic pro-Biden. So he tweets, MAGA is lying again. The new lie is that Biden had to be let off stage by Obama and that he froze. But that's completely false. This video shows what actually happened and is not some selectively edited garbage. The lies don't stop from MAGA. Let it play. Let it speak for itself. Let it speak for itself.
Okay.
And then we'll give our comments. Hang on, I'm just going to make out the point there's no sound just to begin on this one. So they're walking around, they're waving. It's the same exact event that the video we showed before. If there's anything you can notice, I know what you were referring to before, Cap, how I do the editing for all these episodes. If there's something you might not notice,
look, he's frozen right there, right now.
Right. Perhaps you can actually see in this video even Obama grabbing him. Right.
Yeah.
You can see it if you look closely at that point right there. If you look closely, off in the distance, it's a very far shot. You could see Obama reaching over and grabbing his hand, just like we saw in the other camera angle before. Now, the difference here and the manipulation is the camera angle I showed you the first time, which clearly showed you President Obama grabbed his hand and gave him a nudge in his direction. This one that Harry Sisson is sharing has like 98 different camera angles that it's cutting between. Now, like what Captain's referring to, when we do like the episodes here in person, I will switch the camera based on like the angle. This switches so many times, it's trying to like mislead you and zoom out so that you can't see exactly what happened. And then he's sharing it saying, oh, you know, it's misinformation. That never happened. Anyone could see that. Even in this video himself, he's projecting everything. It's all the guys like this have is projection. He said what happened is selectively edited garbage. This was selectively edited and not good. I would have did a much better job and like cut out that 1 millisecond where you could actually kind of see in the background Obama grabbing Biden's hand. But they didn't. They should have
They should have just had a camera focused on Jimmy Kimball, so then you could have shown his face smiling instead of showing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, if the two of us could figure it out, I don't know what the deep state's doing.
Look, it's not just Harry Sisson either. Like CBS News is running a full, like, in-depth analysis segment on this right now, including this this instance and the cheap fake thing. So it's not just like moron Twitter in the bag personalities. It's the corporate press. Rachel Maddow's in the bag for it.
Yeah.
They're running like serious suit and tie in deep interpretations of this thing. But
that's how you know it's fake. That's how you know it's propaganda.
Yeah.
And, for him, for whatever that kid that tweeted this out to say, this is just not carefully selected garbage and all this stuff. He didn't freeze. He didn't have to get pulled off a stage. Cool. I'm pretty sure within 1 minute we could find 3 videos of him freezing on other stages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in this one instant where you could play with camera angles to say he didn't freeze, cool, you got us. I'll give you the one video. What about the 900?
I will even give at this point, we are expecting it so often that we're like chomping at the bit for the next one always.
Yeah.
And on occasion, we might see one and we might have a false start, right? Where he didn't actually do it in that regard. But the thing is that's because there's been 1,000 other instances of it happening.
Yes.
And even like I was saying before, the people who are surrounding him in these public events seem to now have an instinct to try and bail him out of it before it even occurs, right? This could have been a bad scenario if hadn't Obama not intervened when he did, right? It could have been Biden was standing there for 10 minutes off in the distance, right? But Obama probably is like, I got to make sure I get ahead of these things and grab him and nudge him in my direction and get him off, stage. So this is where we're at here, folks. The guy is half dead, and they're trying to lie to you and convince you that he's not.
We got a few minutes. I only got, I think, one tweet, but we got tweets. So now we see people are helping him, right? We see, the Italian prime minister, the French president, Obama, all that, So the debate's coming up in a week.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably be covering it on the next episode or the following one.
For us to,
yeah. And CNN is surprised that Trump agreed to all their rules. The mics get cut off, no live audience. We get to pick the host. It gets aired on CNN. Just basically, we're not going to give you a fair shot. And Trump took it anyway. Why? Because even if Biden doesn't screw up, Biden can't talk on any of his policies. Trump will still get to speak his mind and speak about his policies. But this is going to be a 90-minute debate. There's no one on stage that's going to pull him off, that's going to yank him in this different direction. Now, do I think it's out of the realm of possibilities that they're going to give Biden something to pep him up and have him come out strong? Of course, Trump always wants him to have a drug test before these debates. What's going to happen, 50 minutes into this, though?
Oh, they're giving him state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, the best shit we don't know about. This stuff is like, they're giving him DARPA-level drugs, bro. Trust me. He's going to be wired, dude. The thing is, you make a good point about Trump, that, them being surprised Trump agreed to it. See, the thing is, on the last debate that they had, which was a long time ago, Trump fucked up, right? He kept cutting him off and trying to railroad Biden, and it didn't work. Right? Because Biden can't speak and doesn't have anything to say to begin with. Let him mess up.
Yeah.
Let him talk. Right? Because even if he can talk, even if he's up on the DARPA drugs and whatever, like you said before, he's got nothing. He's got no wins.
What policy is he going to talk about? Yeah.
So perhaps Trump's like, you know what? Let them make the rules so that I can't interrupt him. That would probably actually end up helping Trump because his instinct is going to be to talk shit and whatnot. But now he won't be able to. So you're going to just be staring at Joe Biden, in the face, possibly for an awkward silence where he doesn't lose his train of thought, or let him just ramble on about things that everyone's going to be like, dude, you got nothing, bro.
Yeah.
You got nothing.
Yeah. Expose himself.
Could be. That'll
be interesting.
We'll keep that on the list of things to keep an eye on next week. All right, let's move on to tweets of the week, and then we will get out of here. I got a couple. You got a couple.
I think I got one, maybe two.
So you got any videos before you mess me up here?
No, I don't think so. Okay. Nothing is being shared at the moment.
Okay, because I'm just going to share the screen straight away. So I'll start with one real quick. This isn't a tweet of the week. Actually, I shared it. I put it here in the wrong spot, but that's what I was talking about before. Like they're already running, cover here, like CBS News, misleading video clips of President Biden watching a skydiving demonstration, blah, 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 prompting the White House to say Biden's a victim. So like they're doing a deep dive into this thing. It's all, they've got the new flashy talking point to use, cheap fakes, and they're running with it. This is how propaganda
this is
works.
Scary, man. This is scary.
Works.
The idea of a deep fake video is just the cherry on top for propaganda.
Got to scream about it. Got to point it out. Got to make sure people are aware of this thing. It can't be. I don't think that it can't be preempted or I don't think it's foolproof. Let's just put it that way. I think like with anything else, they will use things to propagandize the public, but propaganda can be unwound. It's just a matter of doing the work to do it. Okay, so my first tweet is from Candace Owens. What a coincidence. What is she talking about? Candace Owens says the aim of propaganda is to brainwash human beings into believing that another group of human beings are not actually human beings. This is why the media has a visceral reaction when Tucker poses a simple statement about the monstrosity of dropping a nuclear bomb at the end of the Second World War on praying Catholics in Nagasaki, no less. This is why the media hates that I refuse to hate Russian citizens on behalf of Zelensky. We've been sufficiently propagandized since grade school to believe that the mass-scale hatred of entire ethnic groups, plus dropping bombs on innocent civilians, is completely normal and was always historically necessary. If it wasn't, and it's not, ignore the psychopaths telling you otherwise. I would stand up and give Candace Owens a round of applause for that one. If she was giving a speech.
That's pretty well put. That it is the brainwashing.
Yeah, I mean,
it is the brainwashing.
These are all great points. I love Candace Owens bringing in the historical precedent of the atomic bombs. Everyone was told it was the right thing, but how about even just think back to COVID? You're demonizing the unvaccinated. You were the problem. You're going to kill grandma. You didn't follow the social contract.
I was going to say 9/11. Everybody hated Muslims.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to skip you, and I'm going to go on to my second tweet because it touches on that exact sentiment. So this is all working out perfectly. This one is from 9mm SMG. And he says the average white American conservative doesn't love Jews or Israel. They simply dislike Muslims. They took the side against them. I've never in my entire life heard someone pre-October 7 praise Jews or Israel outside. They keep the Muslims in line. Most of what amounts to Israel praise from everyday folk is that they simply feel Islam is a much greater threat. Years of wars with Islamic nations and the visible impact Middle Eastern migration has left on Europe and parts of the USA are the cause. There are exceptions, but I found this to be true outside the Christian dispensational lists. I think that that's an ugly truth, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just, you put it a little bit nicer saying it's an ugly truth. I don't think he's wrong. For a warmongering Republican, Muslims and Islam has been the boogeyman for over 25 years.
He's talking about normal people. I ain't talking about politicians or people in the know here and whatnot. Those people know what's going on for real about Zionism and money and the military-industrial complex. I'm talking about your standard. I think this is kind of a bit of a reply to Tim Pool, who the other day said, look, he just kind of made the point of like, look, conservatives, they support Israel and Jews. And like, that's the way it is. I think this is kind of like a reply to that. Well, no, that's not exactly it. It's like the post 9/11 kind of feeling a lot of, like that boomer class went through. And I think there's some merit to that. Unfortunately, it is an ugly truth. Let's put it that way. All right, but I thought it was a great tweet. It was very insightful. So do I will say that 9mm SMG, he will say that he is a racist himself. So it's like some honesty from someone who considers himself a racist. All right, let's go over to the captain. You got one. Let's see what it is.
I don't even remember what it is at this point. Ah, yes, from Nick. So it's an image. When someone asks me how much I love America, and it's Macho Man Randy Savage in a full-blown classic red, white, and blue American flag, Macho Man gear get up. Then it's me when someone asks me how much I love our government. It is Guy Fawkes from V for Vendetta getting ready to dismantle the government.
Yeah, it's a meme, but it's a great point. I also think it's a pretty interesting philosophical point Like when people fly American flags, it's not because they like the government. It's because
Right.
like they identify with the country and like the culture and the great things it's accomplished and like the parks and the mountains and the monuments, you know, separate from the government. I think
The
that's a bit
beauty
of
of
a
the country.
lesson
Yeah.
that like libertarians and anarchists, some of which kind of need to understand that when people are like dressing like that, sometimes people might be like, ah, it's, you know, it's kind of cringe. No, not necessarily. It's like a representation of a vibe that they
Yeah.
appreciate. You know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's not a representation of the government.
It's,
Definitely.
you know, because it's not. Because the funny thing is, it's a stupid meme, but it reigns so true. If you fly an American flag in your front yard, we kind of know who you're voting for. Now, I know you fly an American flag and you don't know if you're voting for Trump or not.
Oh no, I have Don't Tread on Me, buddy. It's not that I don't have an American flag. I do, but at the
Yeah.
moment I have Don't Tread on Me. Just to make the point, in case anybody wants to try and
tread on you.
yeah. Serves as not just a philosophical, ideological statement, but also a practical one in case anybody wants to try and break in or trespass. I think they're going to probably see that flag and they're like, I'll pick the next house.
I don't even think they'd be smart enough to realize what it is.
I don't know, man. It depends. It's worth it. It's better than nothing. Plus, it looks cool. All right, my last tweet of the week is from Whole Mars Catalog. Talk about Biden's. So this isn't the tweet, but talk about Biden's wins and losses.
Yeah,
this actually all ties in perfectly. So from Whole Mars Catalog, for $42 billion, they could have bought Starlink dishes for 140 million people. Keep in mind the U.S. population is 333 million. What's he talking about? An article in the Washington Times: Biden's $42.5 billion rural high-speed internet plan gets stuck in red tape. Not a single home connected 3 years after the enactment. So that infrastructure bill and whatnot. Yeah. It had, and I remember a part of it was like, we're bringing high-speed internet to poor rural folk. Not one. 3 years later, $42.5 billion. Not one person has gotten internet out of that in rural areas. This is one of Biden's wins. Maybe he could cite this one in the debate.
Yeah. These must be the wins they're talking about.
Yeah. These are the wins. These are the wins. Yeah. All right. That's our show. Captain, sign us off.
All right, Doom Nation. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I know I did. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Skaggs, any final words?
That's it.
All right, Doom Nation. Adios. We will see you guys next week.